All right.
Can I join the Prime Minister in
Sir Keir Starmer tells Boris Johnson
his comments
to do his job and get the trains running.
about Windrush? And can I pay tribute to everyone who is serving and has served in our armed forces? Can I also pay tribute to everyone standing for election tomorrow? In particular, the plucky Conservative candidate for Wakefield. He's standing, even though his own colleagues think he's so useless, they held a vote of no confidence in him. Does the Prime Minister, does the Prime Minister hold any personal interest in seeing if the public will vote for a Tory that even his own side don't think is up to it?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've absolutely no doubt that the people of this country and the people of Wakefield, people of Tiverton and Honiton would much rather vote for a solid Conservative government than for a Labour Party. They're enablers and acolytes in the Liberal Democrats, Mr. Speaker, the chameleons, the karma chameleons of British politics. When the leader of the Labour Party hasn't even got the gumption, Mr. Speaker, to speak out against the rail strikes to the people in the north of this country, up and down this country. Absolutely unbelievable silence from the leader of the Labour Party, Mr. Speaker.
Everyone always knows in times of turmoil and political situations, the best thing to do is just let the right wing dominate the conversation by not taking a firmly held position on anything. If history has shown us anything, it's always the fucking centrists that end up winning elections, and never, I don't know, some of the most historically popular American presidents being like firmly on the fucking left. Abraham Lincoln, FDR, name a few. And of course, when you think about like right-wing politicians that end up winning, they are also incredibly fucking firmly on the right, like Boris Johnson, who doesn't hide his fucking perspective, or Donald Trump, who doesn't hide his fucking perspective even. Ronald Reagan, right-wing as fuck. Abraham Lincoln was a centrist, moderate Republican. Are you fucking psychotic? You think it's centrist to fucking roll over the brains of fucking slavers with a military force? What meaning does that word have if you consider Abraham Lincoln to be a centrist, brother? The inception of the Republican Party was drastically different than where the Republican Party has arrived at now. I hope you understand that. The Republican Party's founding documents had a clause in it that dictated that the abolition of slavery in the South, the abolition of chattel slavery in the South, was a necessity, much like the abolition of wage slavery in the North. What the fuck are you talking about when you say the Republican Party was was a moderate center-right party? I mean, he did have some centrist leanings. Don't get me wrong. But ultimately, like the idea that like a guy who fucking, literally fought half the fucking country is insane. How is that centrist, dude?
He's obviously not been to Wakefield recently. He's
Labor is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is the only fruit of labor and could have never existed if labor had not existed first. Labor is the superior of capital and deserves much to higher consideration. Did Abraham Lincoln write that? I thought he was a bisexual Marxist, but I didn't realize he did write that. Holy fuck. Here it is. No, Lincoln and Marx were not friends. Don't lie. Unfortunately, they were not friends. Marx had a one-sided affair, okay? Marx actually found Abraham Lincoln to be super cool and super dope. He also talked about the revolutionary potential, but ultimately, yeah, he was a parasocial Andy. He sent letters to Lincoln. Lincoln never responded. He also wrote about American politics. We don't know if Abraham Lincoln ever wrote back. Lincoln wrote that for the income tax and the founding fathers knew you were never a tax-free man's labor. Yeah, Marx was left on red. The two men were friendly and influenced each other is not correct. Or that they were friendly is not correct. This is a fabrication. I mean, the assumption that like Lincoln factored Marx's analysis into his opinion is not that far removed from reality, as you can see in his assessment between the relationship of labor and capital and how important labor is to the existence of capital. That is Marxist. Like, obviously, back then, I don't know if you would consider that to be Marxist, but that is what we now know as Marxian economics. But unfortunately, other than like his own statements on the matter, there is no. I don't think there is any. There's no evidence that shows other than Karl Marx sending letters and being completely fascinated with the Republican Party. Also, Lincoln was bisexual. True. That part is definitely true. There is evidence for that one. Like, Abraham Lincoln most likely fucked his bodyguard.
If I could just finish for a second.
Dude, this man is just bouldering motherfuckers, dude. I love this. Anyway, let's finish this and then we'll get to Mick.
Crash the economy. He's put everybody's tax up. The last Tory sent up to Wakefield being convicted of a sexual assault. That's not much of a pitch, Prime Minister. Talking of people not up to the job, whilst the Transport Secretary spends his time working on his spreadsheet tracking the Prime Minister's unpopularity, thousands of families have had their holiday flights cancelled. It takes forever to renew your driving licence or passport, and now we've got the biggest rail strike in 30 years. If he is genuine,
Both sides, let's calm down. We've only just started. The problem is he'll go on forever and nobody wants that, I assure you. Whoever's speaking or asking questions,
How is this a real country, bro? What an L for the entire planet. What a fucking gigantic, never-ending sequence of L's for everyone on this planet, that this was like the dominant imperial superpower for such an extended period of time. Like, can you fucking imagine, dude? Oh, let's go. Let's stop now. Nobody wants this to continue. Order.
he'll go on forever and nobody wants that, I assure you.
Nobody wants that.
Whoever's speaking or asking questions, Keir Starmer.
If he's genuine about preventing strikes, will the Prime Minister tell this House how many meetings he or his Transport Secretary have had with rail workers this week to actually stop the strikes?
Mr. Speaker, this is the government that loves the railways, that invests in the railways. Not £96 billion we're putting into the integrated railway plan building. Not just, I'm proud to have built Crossrail, by the way, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to build Northern Powerhouse Rail. But what we've got to do is modernise our railways. And it is a disgrace when we are planning to make sure that you don't have ticket offices that sell fewer than one ticket every hour, Mr. Speaker, that he yesterday had 25 Labour MPs out on the picket line, defying instructions.
I want to hear the Prime Minister answer, even if you don't. I think you ought to show some respect for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister.
Out on the 25, and the shadow deputy leader, out on the picket line, Mr. Speaker, backing the strikers, Mr. Speaker.
This is why you can't have a wishy-washy take. You have to literally be like, yeah, motherfucker, of course we're on the side of the working class, bitch. What about you, you fucking baboon? If you're on the side of the managerial class, if you're on the side of the fucking capital owners, if you're on the side of the fucking privatized, the executives that own, the shareholders that own the fucking private railroads that you're trying to funnel funds into, then go and fucking enforce your influence and power. You said 96 billion fucking quid. 96 billion pounds, you said? That's a whole lot. That's 96 billion pounds worth of influence you have over these private corporations. Mediate. End the strikes by forcing the private railway to meet the demands of the working class British people.
While we back the strivers.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised he's giving me advice about my team. If I do need advice, let's say about a £100,000 job at the Foreign Office, I will ask him for recommendation. And there you, Mr. Speaker, there you have it. The Prime Minister of this country and his Transport Secretary haven't attended a single meeting, held a conversation, or lifted a finger to stop these strikes. But I did note that on Monday, they did find time to go to a lavish ball where the Prime Minister sold a meeting with himself for £120,000 to a donor. If there's money coming his way, he's there. He's nowhere to be seen. So rather than blame everyone else, why doesn't he do his job,